Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator. My guest today is Tom Negelow and Shelley Negelow.
Hi.
To the podcast.
Hi, so glad to be with you again.
Yes, thank you. And today we have another topic. Tom is with us because he has special abilities and skills, and I'm just going to read his biography because he's had 30 years of experience. So Tom Negelow is a professional coach, author, speaker, and relationship coach. He specializes in relationship and men's issues, as well as business training and team building. He has written 3 books: Blueprint for Healing, The Path to Conscious Living, Blueprint for Life, and Love and the Human Spirit. He created the cellular energy releasing healing method, which combines somatic, emotional releasing, and deep tissue restructuring. Along with his wife, Dr. Shelley Negelow, he also teaches the Relationship Mastery Seminar, which gives couples and individuals a powerful foundation for creating successful partnerships. He also teaches Rite of Passage for Men. Tom has been in private practice for over 30 years. So that is quite a journey, over 30 years.
It's been a very interesting journey. It sure has.
So do you want to kind of start out by telling us a little bit about you? Where did you grow up? How did you get here 30 years later?
Wow. Grew up, I was born in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on Long Island. And up to about 15 years into our marriage, I was normal. Normal person doing normal things.
Uh-huh.
I spent some time in New York theater, and have also not only been an actor and did stage production, but also a stand-up comic. People say, "Were you funny?" And I tell them, "Not funny enough to make a living at it,
Oh.
but I sure had a good time."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's really those experiences that have led me to what I do now. I've always had a desire to lift people up, make them feel better at the end of the day. And that's why I was drawn to comedy and acting, because that, hopefully that's what it does.
Yeah.
So that really gave me some insights into people and how to support them. 15 years into our marriage, we kind of changed how we were being with each other. Things weren't working out that well. And Shelley initially went on a path of looking for what was missing. I kind of held back because at that time I was a skeptic. Not anymore. And as she got better, I noticed, I'm a little crazy, but I'm not stupid. I noticed that she was indeed getting better with the things that she was doing. So she said to me, "Why don't you just kind of come along and see what happens?" So I said, "Okay, I didn't see any harm in it." And after some experiences and what I discovered is that I actually had a sense of people that was, I guess you could call it, unusual. And with that sense, I started to find that I had also an ability to see what was going on with people, how they were feeling, what was bothering them. And I really didn't know what to do with it at the time. So I studied some things, Reiki being one of them, really gave me an insight into this world of energy that we talk about. And from those experiences started and created the body work I do now called cellular energy releasing. Actually gets into the physicalness of the body, the energy of the body, releases the emotions, feelings, also restructures the body so it's more comfortable in your body, and actually supporting people in letting go of the things that keep them from having the kind of life that they want to have and creating the things that they want to create. And that started 30 or some odd years ago, and that's what I've been doing ever since. That has led me to some very interesting places. Mm-hmm. From those experiences of energy, I also found myself becoming a channel. And I say found myself because I didn't study for that. You know, I didn't go out there going, gee, I think I want to be a channel. That didn't happen that way. So, you know, people say, how did you get here? And did you have insights? Yeah, I had some insights, but nothing so major that it turned my life around. It was slow progress to where I am. And that's, you know, that's my background. That's what I do. I support men in their life changes when they're starting to go, what do I do now? I've been doing the same thing for 30 years, and they're starting to become dissatisfied. So I help support men in making those essential shifts and changes in their lives. I have a men's course called The Rite of Passage. And really the thing that, one of the things I love the most is the work I do as Tom the Man Whisperer.
Actually, Dr. Tom.
Tell me about that. Tom the Man Whisperer.
That's really interesting. How it started is Shelley teaches a Powerful Woman course and then an advanced course after that. Really support women in becoming really great and experiencing true freedom in their lives. And in the second course, the advanced course, she would bring me in to talk about relationship stuff and men things, you know. Most women don't hear from men, clear men, why it is we do the strange things we do. You know, how come we, you know, how come I got this guy? What do we do with him now? So
that sounds kind of strange.
yeah, it does.
But that's how we think.
So I started to talk about men's experience and what they go through and how come we are the strange beasts that we are. And after doing that a couple of times, the women just started calling me the Man Whisperer. So I liked that. So I kind of took it on. Yeah. Yeah.
So, tell me one thing you would tell them that would be like an aha.
Oh goodness, there isn't one thing that if I tell a woman, she'll go, oh, now I know what to do.
Okay.
It's much more complex than that.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of things I think that are basic in understanding men and trying to figure out our strangeness. First of all, we don't think alike. And very often women think that we should think like they think. Or they kind of go, well, I can't quite get it. He's not, you know, it doesn't make sense to me. He doesn't understand my emotions. He doesn't talk about how he feels. He doesn't listen to me, all those things.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of reasons why all those things occur. First of all, we're hunters. We're still hunters. We may not have the spears and the knives, you know, in the garage, although some of us do.
Yes.
And so being a hunter genetically and evolutionarily, what happens is we look at emotions through the eyes of what's going to help me hunt.
That's interesting. That's a totally different thought.
Completely different.
And when,
yeah, exactly. And that's the reaction I get from women when we start to talk about this. So what are the things that are good for hunting? Fear, anger, rage, force, defensive-ness. All those are great hunting emotions, if you will, to have.
Yes.
Because they keep you alive in the jungle, keep you from something eating you. So that's how, if you will, we're genetically in the world, genetically thrown, I like to call it. Mm-hmm. So knowing that, it is very difficult for us men, not impossible, but difficult for us to actually experience some of the more refined emotions, like compassion, although we have tremendous compassion for our family. The ability to listen really well. That one comes from, we're fixers. We fix stuff. That's what we do. It's broken, I fix it. And for us, women are something else to fix. You know, and so when you talk to us, how we listen is, what do I have to do to fix her? So she won't feel sad, she won't feel bad, she won't be mad at me, she won't whatever. So we're not listening to what you're saying necessarily. We're listening to what it is what we have to do to fix you.
I mean, when you say that, I'm thinking about, you know, when a woman cries, as fast as that man can get her to stop crying, it seems like he'll do whatever to get that crying to stop. It's because we want to cry.
Yeah, exactly. We don't get the whole crying thing. You know, not off the top of, you know, not off the top of your hat. I mean, we'll cry in certain places when it's appropriate, but the tribe doesn't like that a whole lot, you know. And yeah, sometimes you just want to outflow. Sometimes you just want to cry. Sometimes you just want to talk, because that's how women bond. It's not how men bond. You know, we bond by punching each other in the shoulder, you know, putting on helmets and shoulder pads and knocking each other to the ground. You know, and then at the end of the game, give them a hug, hey, good, and a pat on the you know where. Good game, buddy. That was really. And that's how we bond. We have different ways of bonding that women, you know, most women, not all obviously, look at football and go, that's very interesting, and have no idea what's really going on underneath the rules and the action of it. Women bond by talking, by being with each other, by sharing experiences. Men share experience. You know, I bought that car and go, you know, 180 miles in 12.2 seconds. You know? So it appears as though we're not experiencing emotions. It's not really true.
Oh. We
are deeply experiencing emotions. We're just not communicating, talking about them in a way that women can get it. This isn't for women. It's for other men.
Oh.
I see you looking at Shelley.
Yes. It just
changed the whole picture.
It did, and it answers my question. You know, I asked someone, "What does your son think about that?" And he says, "I don't know." I said, "Don't you talk to him?
Yeah.
Why don't you know how he feels about it?"
Yeah, because
he has no idea.
Because we don't get the whole feeling conversation. We feel deeply, but talking about it doesn't do any good. You know, acting on it.
Yes.
And when we get confused, this is part of the secret life that men lead. When we get confused, we go into the garage and go down into the basement and fix something. We'll lift up the hood in the car, and if there's nothing wrong with it, we'll find something. So I tell women, if you have a man who has 12 unfinished projects in the basement, you have a happy man.
Okay.
You know, and they'll go, but he doesn't finish anything. Yeah, it's not about finishing. It's about having a project to do. So when we get crazy, we go, yeah, I'm going to go make a sawhorse. And the women are going, we're in the middle of whatever. So I think here's a good rule of thumb. So when you're talking to a man, remember that you have about 3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes before he's starting to try and figure out what's wrong with you and how to fix it.
That doesn't fit well for conversations. When you want to have a serious conversation, you only have 3.5 minutes. That's it.
Well, I mean, if it's serious enough, he'll listen more. But and it's not that he stops listening, but already he's gone, okay, so what do I have to do? Let me look and see. Thursday, I've got this, and then we have to go here and there. And that's how we process. Because women, and actually this is brain neurology that's been mapped, if you will. Women think like this. In order to get from A to B, or let's say A to C, go A, let's see, now I have to do the laundry, and now we have to go get the kids, and then we kind of come back and say, oh, B.
Yes, exactly it.
And then B, it's okay, let me see, now I have to go do this, and there's the shopping, and get the cleaning, and finally get to see.
Right.
With men, it's aha, oh, got it. You know,
It's really, when you watch it, then you can see
Yes.
in action.
yeah, exactly. And so who tells women this? I mean, they watch their mothers and their grandmothers, and they watch their mothers fight with their fathers, and that's called a relationship.
We're doomed.
So it seems. Okay, throw it up and let's get some cheesecake and have a party.
So give me a little hope here.
Yes.
So let's say a woman really wants to connect with her man.
Yes,
And
it's possible.
She knows how to connect with other women, but she really wants to connect with her man.
Yes.
How does that happen? Can it happen?
Yeah. Good news. There's good news. Yes, it can. And how it happens is finding out what he's interested in and asking him about it. Now, you may not give a rat's patoot about whatever it is.
Mhm.
The man was for a course. It's a 3-hour course. And there was a woman in it, and the more she listened, the more furious she got.
Oh.
Because it was like, oh my God, I have to babysit him and all this stuff, and he have to be a man. There's none of that. I said, look, just forget about all that stuff. What does he do? And I think he was in the cell phone business, actually made him or something like that. Now, I don't exactly remember. So I said, go to him. And he's sitting down, you're being quiet. Ask him about what he does. Ask him about what he's doing. What's his latest project?
Mhm.
Talk to him about what he is interested in. And then begin a conversation about, I was just thinking. Don't go to him and say, we have to talk.
That's the worst.
Oh,
isn't
that's
it?
a killer. Yeah, because she'll say, honey, we have to talk. And he's thinking, okay, I got to go in the garage now.
Yes. Exactly. He's going to exit.
Yeah. You want to engage him in also what works for him. You can all look there, if it's deeper than that, if you have a problem, you can go and say, look, I have this problem and I want your input.
Ask him to help you fix it.
Yeah. Then you have his attention. I can fix something.
Yes. Oh.
Yay, I'm happy. So those are just a couple of ways to start to engage him in meaningful conversation. And remember that he won't share his feelings with you because he doesn't know. I was going to say he doesn't know how to access them. When you ask a man what he thinks, he'll tell you how he feels. You got to listen for it, though. That's a secret.
The secret word.
The secret to understanding men is ask him. If you want to know how he feels, ask him what he's thinking. What do you think about it? Well, I don't know. I think it's just it's not right, and it just doesn't feel good. There's something about it that red flag, or whatever he says. But that's the way to get into start to him to get into you to understand how he's thinking about his feelings.
Wow, this is just
amazing
information, and
it turns
a lot of women
relationships around. Yes,
thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
Yeah. Because who talks about this? He can't come to you and say, look, don't ask me how I feel because I'm going to tell you how I think. He doesn't know that.
No.
Now you do. Now you've got a little way to, whisper in the man's ear, like whatever that movie, The Horse Whisperer, whispering in the horse's ear. So that are just some of the things that help in a relationship. And so when you want to make sure that he's getting what you're saying, ask him. So here's what I feel about that. You get that? Do you understand what I'm saying about that? you can't, well, you can, it's not going to be useful though. I was going to say you can't challenge them. You can't force them into it. Because being hunters, we know when we're being hunted.
Yes.
And that's all looks the same to us. Unless evoking strong emotion, strong feelings, is going to help them move off this position. Because we are just ridiculously arrogant. We are very, very sensitive to criticism.
Mm-hmm.
We're very sensitive to what people think and feel about us. We don't let it on, but we're very sensitive to those things. So if you come at them with those things, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to get an argument, or he's just going to sit there and not say anything, and you're just going to try and drag it out of him, and you won't be able to.
No.
You simply won't be able to. It's not going to happen.
You just run into a roadblock.
Exactly. So, and it's not about coddling him, but it's about speaking to him in a way that you understand what he's going through as well. And you'll get much more out of him. You'll get much more conversation. You'll have a much more pleasant, happier relationship. Mm-hmm. This lady that I was talking about, she went to him. She reported later. She went to him and asked him about whatever that he's doing, and he went on for about half an hour. And she, it wasn't really interesting to her, but she was not. She didn't want to be interesting. She wanted to be interested.
Yeah.
There's an old saying: don't be interested, and interesting, be interested. Mm. And about a half hour, he started to talk to her about her day and what she did and what was going on. And it really worked. I mean, it really started to turn that relationship around, because it was, just a little bit rocky. Because, look, I'm trying to think of his name. An old comedian in the 30s and 40s. Anyway, he said there are two theories to arguing with a woman. Yes. Neither of which work. So, and we know that, and we know you have a much better memory about that stuff than we do. And when you go to, well, you always do this, always do that, again, we're not going to be there.
So I have another question for you.
Sure.
So let's say people are in a dating relationship.
Yes.
And one of the first questions women ask, I think that men never know how to answer, is, do you love me? What happens in a man's brain when a woman says, do you love me?
Well, again, that's that hunting thing. And if it's the first day, that's ain't gonna happen. But I will tell you something. When we first met 120 years ago,
I did get married when I was 2. Just
she did, yeah, just
yes.
The very first weekend we were together, I told her I loved her, I wanted to marry her. It was a blind date.
Oh, wow.
Never talked to her before. We spent the day, and then the next day I said, I love you, I want to marry you. And she freaked out, of course. Yes. But that was clear. So if she would have said that to me, probably I would have had that same reaction. Good, let's go now. Mm-hmm. And that's obviously unusual. But what do we think when I'm avoiding the question? What do we think when do you love me?
In other words, can they access that emotion? Yeah. To answer the question.
Yeah, they can. And I guess depending on the circumstances and how long you've been together and how you are with each other, I think there's a yes there. But again, if a man has to be past that, I'm being hunted.
Yes.
So you have to establish the relationship and the energy, if you will, of the relationship, who you are together, what you want to accomplish, those kind of things. And Shelley is very good at teaching the women in her class about that.
You know, I will tell you that when I'm looking back on that incident, a moment in time where we met each other,
Mm-hmm.
there was an instantaneous connection. And it was there. I was fearful of it because I also had just gotten off of a relationship for a couple of years. And I wasn't looking to be in a relationship. And I thought I was going to be this very independent woman for some period of time. So I didn't think I was looking for a relationship. But yet, I always wanted a relationship that worked because, as you know, coming out of a very difficult family life, I was searching for that experience that I somehow knew would occur. And so I lived with that intention and that commitment. And so when it happened, I kind of said, oh no, it's just too much too soon. But after a very brief period of time, really it was a couple of months, I realized one day, because we were commuting back and forth to see each other, since I was in Philly and he was in New York.
That's quite a commute.
It was quite a commute. We would either drive or we'd take a train.
Mm-hmm.
And finally realized that I was deeply in love with him. But then, you know, you and I spoke about that we women are very often trained in this happily ever after thing.
Yes.
That we grew up with. And we want the knight in shining armor. Well, you could have the knight in shining armor when you let go of your idea of what you think it is. And just be who you are and allow the other person to be who they are and learn how to connect really and discover how to live a life and be together in life so that you're on the same page. And you can be entirely different in the way you are as people. Tom and I aren't the same in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we have the same passions and the same love for things, same love for people, and the commitment to expanding and growing together. We had to learn that because I certainly didn't know it in the beginning. Trying to, you know, chase the perception of, well, I've got this knight in shining armor, and he's going to whisk me off my feet, and we're going to go into the sunset. That's
That
just
lasted about 12 minutes.
It did. And then I told you that I knocked him off his horse.
Uh-huh. Yes, you did.
And most of the women do. They knock their men off their horses. And then can't understand how come the relationship isn't working, simply because we haven't put our focus in a whole new way to start to expand together in life rather than holding back, accusing the other of whatever is wrong that you're not feeling good about yourself with,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and really establishing a whole different kind of foundation than what we're used to.
Yeah, here's how we say I love you. Okay?
Okay.
People, not just men, people in general. And I think a little bit more with women than men, but that might be wrong about that. How we say I love you is, I love you.
Yes, you're waiting for them to say it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing I'll say about that is you can never have anybody say I love you enough for you to get it.
You have to feel good with yourself.
Right.
It doesn't exist in that in a relationship.
You know, we go into a relationship expecting the other person on some level, maybe unconsciously, to fill whatever the void is that we don't feel good enough with ourselves.
Yeah, the movie, what was that movie, Show Me the Money movie, whatever that is, where Tom Cruise says to whoever it is, I can't remember the actress's name, but he says, you complete me. I nearly threw up. It sounds, you complete me, it sounds, then everybody in theater is going, oh, that is so unreal. To think that someone else can complete you because you have this feeling about them. You may love them, that's great, but they're not going to complete you because that can't happen. You can only complete yourself.
Yeah.
And then bring that experience of who you are yourself, what you want to do, how you want to create, how you want to create with your partner, what do you want to do together, how you want to support her in what she wants to do, how she supports you in what you want to do. Now bring that into the relationship. Now you've got a partnership.
Yes. Two valid, whole people.
Yeah.
And then creating together in life.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, discovering whatever that adventure is, whatever that means to both people.
Yeah.
And that's really the foundation of the work we do in our relationship mastery seminars and the private work we do with people. Because nobody understands or has the experience of that kind of foundation. How many people have lived in a family where the mother and father really have created a life like that? It doesn't happen very often. You know, we're too busy handling the bills and working very hard and putting our kids through college and paying for the cars and the mortgage and whatever else we have to notice anything else. Then one day when children are out of the household, they're looking at each other and going, who are you? How come I got married to you to begin with? I know I loved you at one point.
I think I know I loved you. Or I knew that I know I loved you.
And that happens very often.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not true for everyone, but it's true for quite a few people.
So, you know, the empty nest syndrome is, you know, they get a dog for the wife and he goes and finds a Ferrari. You know, that's the solution to that. And you've got to, for a true partnership, you have to know who the other person is, and primarily you have to know who you are. Now, that's a kind of a big statement. How do you do there? How do you get there? Well, that's part of what we teach. And how do you let go of the things that don't work? But the good news is it's possible. And when you work at it, not only is it possible, it's likely.
It takes the work.
Well, you
Yeah,
have to be committed to a quality of life for yourself and for your, with your partner.
Yeah.
And you can't back down because it hasn't shown up yet. It takes a little bit of time. We're very embroiled in our old ways.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very righteous about it.
Yeah.
This is the way I am, darn it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way it's going to be, and you're going to have to change because I'm not.
That's right.
Yeah. And after you've been working at your relationship and you've committed to being partners, how do you keep that passion in your relationship? You know, it seems like sometimes as people get older, sometimes they lose the passion if they've been together a long time.
Yeah. With men, we're good if everything's the same. You know,
Yeah.
it's good. It hasn't ever good.
As you say that, I'm saying women don't think.
No, of course not. No, you want to have change.
Right.
And what's interesting as men age is we become more the teacher than the hunter.
Mm.
A natural progression, we get a little slower. You know, we can't throw a spear as far and can't run as fast as the young guys. So instead of trying to keep up with them, what we do is we teach them how to do that. We teach them from our ancient wisdom. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Women, on the other hand, as they age, they get more, I think, more clear about themselves. They let go of the whole birthing cycle thing, and become, I think, out of that more clear, more powerful, more energetic. So it looks like, you know, the man's just kind of sitting around and polishing his car. So that's kind of the change as we age. So you have to realize that and literally find now what you're passionate about. Together, individually, always, and together. And that's, I think, what we discovered in our age, as young as we are. That what is it we're passionate about now? But coming from a foundation of really knowing who we are and having discovered that over the years. That's why we teach what we teach.
We don't take it for granted either,
Mhm.
because we've worked very hard to have the experience that we have today. And I was
Mhm.
speaking with you, and we were talking about what about passion and the connection with one another. It deepens as you become clearer and clearer with yourself and expand in the relationship together. It deepens. You actually, for me, Tom and I experience ecstasy. And it isn't your ideas of what ecstasy would be. It's simply such a deep connection that we can count on each other absolutely and unconditionally. And we're pretty much on the same page. Now, we don't always agree with things, but most of the time we actually do. And we grow together and we create in life together and we continue to create our programs and support many people. So we have something that moves us individually and as a couple.
Oh, that helps a lot. And, I mean, as we're sitting here, and everybody can see that, but Shelley has been looking up at Tom, just smiling and like just glowing, being in his presence. So that's
Well, we do that for each other.
Mhm.
We've been teaching together for a long time. So we know each other's rhythm and pace, and I'll know what she's going to say next. She knows what I'm going to say next. And it's really just a matter of bringing all that together and seeing what it takes to support people, which is what we do. That's our life.
And then I don't know if I had asked you this one or not. What is the secret life of men?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. We kind of go, we go into our shell, and we look around at what it is we can do to get away from whatever it is that's making us crazy. So sometimes it'll be dropping in, hiding our emotions. Sometimes it'll be going out with the guys. There are many ways for us to kind of express that secret life that we don't really talk even to our buddies about it. It's just something within us that we have that's ours. Because if somebody knows everything about us, you see, because we are so sensitive, if somebody knows everything about us, that's dangerous.
Yes.
So we avoid danger at all costs.
So Tom, will you talk a little bit about the healing that you get to do?
Sure. Again, about 30 years ago, I developed the cellular energy releasing method. And what it's based in is that the body holds on to everything necessary for survival and everything it perceives to be necessary for survival. And by the body, I also mean the brain-mind connection. So those things, and by held in the body, I mean actually physical places in the body where you're holding, for instance, Uncle Freddie dropped me on my head when I was 6 months old. So that's a physical act. It has emotion with it. It has pain with it. All the things that say, "Oops, stay away from Uncle Freddie. He drops you on your head." So understanding that, then everything that has significance, and even some things that may not have significance, but we think it has, we hold on to. First, we hold on to it in the body structure, the actual tissue. I say, and not my quote, but the issue is in the tissue. And what I've been able to do over years of doing this, of working with people, is I actually began some number of years ago to actually see the matrix, the energy matrix that the body has in it. It's kind of like a spider web. Each individual is different in their pattern. And along that spider web, there's, let's say, an energetic interruption. And that's where something is held. Again, sometimes I will see what it is. I will see the energy. I always see the energy. Sometimes I'll see the issue, the emotion, the actual happening of what went on. Not always, but sometimes. And so when I see that energy interruption, I will actually physically push on that place, kind of like a pressure point type of thing. And what that does is it, if you will, without getting real technical about it, that reminds the body, oops, something's going on here. And when you remind the body that something's going on here, that reminds the neurology, because the body is hooked up to the brain. And with that neurology, electrical impulse, the neurology triggering a memory or a thought or an emotion may be triggered and released, because you're reminding the body that something's here, but it's not the incident that triggered it. Hang in there with me.
Yeah, then, yeah.
So
Getting a
you
little
go,
lost there. Keep going.
yeah, yeah. So now, ooh, I got that triggered again. You know, Uncle Eddie, whatever his name was, struck me on my head when I was 6 months old.
Yes.
But I'm not dead. I re-experienced that, however it may be, maybe just energetically and not consciously, but you didn't die. So in that moment, that survival mechanism is broken.
It's cleared out.
It's cleared out, it's released. Now, it may take a few times before that's out entirely, before you stop having the reaction that, you know, stay away from anybody that looks like Uncle Ted. And
Fred.
Right. I knew what you read.
Yeah, that's why saying mine is a terrible thing. So what happens is that neurology is changed just in a moment to be fully realized as released. Sometimes it does happen right away, but most of the time it takes practice. It takes time for that neurology to change. So that's really what the work is based in, is reminding the body, hey, here's this thing that happened, here's this emotion, however, whatever reason you have it, maybe it's something that didn't happen but you thought it did. Doesn't make any difference because the body holds it anyway. And when it's triggered, when it's remembered, either consciously or unconsciously, then it's in the process of being released. And then the body's open to having you putting in whatever you want there in its place.
You're kind of reprogramming?
Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
you're reprogramming.
If you think of the body as an energetic computer, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, you clear out the old software, and you put a new software in.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it translates into new neurological pathways.
Yeah, over time.
Yes.
Over time. That's why, you know, very often people do a workshop or they book or they go see somebody who thinks they're the shaman or guru or whatever it may be, and 2 weeks later they got the same stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it may be reminded that something happened, it may be triggered, but you have not been taught how to release it. You haven't had that experience. And by experience, I mean the actual physical, tactile feeling of what it feels to let that go.
And then practicing it so that it's ongoing, and eventually the body clears out.
Yeah.
It isn't peeling the onion back like everyone thinks. It isn't that, because it doesn't occur that way really as you release. And it can take a fairly short amount of time, or take longer depending on how deeply it's held inside, and you know, whatever resistance you might have to completing whatever that is, consciously or in many cases unconsciously, because most of what we hold on to is unconscious.
Yeah. And I was just curious, what kind of people come to see you for that type of healing? What kind of problems are they experiencing?
Generally, I like to see people who are breathing.
Oh, good.
If you're breathing, I do have a lot of healers, massage therapists. I've worked with doctors and nurses,
Physical
physical
therapists.
therapists, rolfers, massage therapists, the whole, everybody.
And also everyday people who are looking to heal their lives and don't know what to do about it.
So are they coming for physical healing? They're coming for emotional healing?
Sometimes
or
both.
Yeah.
Or sometimes one or the other,
Mhm.
and they don't know they have these other things going on. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, the first thing I do want to get in the client is we talk about what's going on, what's going to happen, what to expect, what I'm going to do, and then we'll talk about them right in front of them,
Mhm.
and so that we're both really clear about what to expect and why they're here. When somebody new comes to me, someone has told them, because I don't advertise.
Mhm.
Someone has told them something that they went, "Oh, really? Okay, I need to find out about that," which tells me that already there's a consciousness and a desire to change, which is, like Shelley said before, you got to wanna.
Yeah.
So literally anybody who wants to improve their lives has things that they can't seem to let go of, both emotional and physical, because those things go together, emotional and physical. Emotions are physical, and physicalness has emotions. So as those are released out of the body, there's a freeing up of the body. There's an ability now to look into the world where before you'd seen pain or whatever it is you've been seeing.
Mhm.
Now there's some clarity. Now you can look into the world and go, what is it I really want?
Oh, yeah.
There's a freedom in the body and freedom in the thinking, and the emotional base, where now instead of reacting to things, you can start to be responsible and cause them to happen.
So you're opening up their thinking.
And the energy.
Yes.
And the whole expansion of being alive. It changes the whole quality of life forever.
Yeah, because thinking is a reaction to neurology, it's a reaction to the body.
Yes.
I mean, what is thinking? It's neurons doing stuff. What has become the kind of thoughts we have and the pictures we have, and I think scientists are trying to figure that out, and I don't know if actually they will. And the reason I say that is you're using the mechanism to try and figure out the mechanism.
Yes.
So, we may not ever know why when, this neuron triggers that neuron and we have the thought of a dog, except that's what's been put in there initially. And maybe that's the reason, maybe not. We don't really know. So again, I don't know if we'll ever find out. Maybe, I kind of hope we do. It'd be real interesting.
Well, it sounds like your work is so powerful.
Well, I hope so. People, here's the thing that both Shelley and I said initially when we kind of started down this strange path, but it's your fault. We said,
Definitely my fault.
yeah,
I take responsibility for it.
we said, look, either this is going to help people,
Mhm.
okay, and if it isn't, we're not going to do it. And so far, what we've been doing seems to be helping people, so we'll keep going.
That is amazing.
You know?
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So, you've talked about so many things while we've been here on the podcast, and you offer so many things. Would it be okay if maybe Shelley, you told people about the Power of Women, and you just kind of go over the different programs that you're doing?
Oh my
It might be a little confusing about what's available for people.
Yeah, because there is so much that we do.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, the Power of Women seminar I've been teaching now for 30 years. And I've taught women all over the country. And what it is it's an experience, a fundamental change, an experience, a shift, and how we live our lives, how we create our lives, and releasing whatever the resistance, whatever the things that we've been putting up with in life that get in our way, that hold us back. So that, we've been talking about this expanded awareness, this expanded experience. You actually live your life from that expanded feeling, because it's a feeling inside all the time. So I teach step by step by step how to make those changes from the inside out so that women really live the life that they love. And it's a remarkable thing to watch the women transform right in front of your eyes. And I think I've mentioned to you that I developed the Power of Woman seminar out of really the beginnings in the early days of, being on the path of healing my own life. So it works because I'm living proof of it. And it doesn't make any difference what someone's background is, whether they have deep, dark stuff like I did, or they simply are looking to expand and they don't know how to take the next step. But they have a deep desire on some level, whether they're completely conscious of it or not, to really have a fundamental shift in how they're living their lives. And that's what Power Woman is for, to create that permanent change, so they have a quality life that we really all want, but we don't know what to do about it. Because I know in the early days when I was looking for how to heal my own life, and I was in a different career at the time, I was an executive recruiter, I thought that filling my life with all the things that I could buy would be what the answer would be. And I found out in a very difficult way, it was a rude awakening when I realized that wasn't it. It had nothing to do with all the things that I could buy. And it was a little frightening time for me, because it was during that time our marriage wasn't doing so well. And I wanted to blame Tom for all of the things that I really hadn't healed with my own life. And we women are so good at taking care of everybody and everything else that at the end of the day, we really don't feel like, we may have accomplished a lot, but are we as good as just the good deeds that we've done? I think we're much greater than that. And we don't experience it that way, though. So experiencing who we are in the manner that we include ourselves, that's foreign, especially to our culture, but I'd say probably across the world. Of course, I haven't lived everywhere. I've been to many places, but I can't say that for sure because I haven't lived in those countries. But certainly in this country, we're as good as the stuff that we usually accumulate. If we're good at taking care of our kids, if we're good parents, we judge ourselves according to the roles that we have and all the good deeds that we do, if we do them. But if we're really honest with ourselves, and women have a hard time with that, because then you have to learn how to include yourself. What does that look like? That is anti how we've been trained in our society. Our society is all about supporting us and nurturing our families and being nurturers in whatever the roles are that we do. And of course, some of us have gone beyond nurturing to be fitting into the man's world in our own way. But nonetheless, we're still female. We still have a mandate as a female. And most of us have no clue about what it is to include ourselves. And we're the gift. We're the gift. So the training is really to include yourself. And what is the feeling of that? And using it to produce results without the push. No more push. With great ease. Yes.
That's the important part, the ease part.
Very important.
I think the thing that Shelley's so brilliant at is you have to have three things in order to have a shift or have change. First of all, you got to want it. But second of all, you have to learn the tools that it takes to make that shift. Then, once you have the tools, you have to know and be coached in practicing the tools in a way that you have the experience of change. When you have those three things in place, then change is possible. If you don't have the right tools, you don't know how to practice them, and you don't have an experience of change initially, nothing's going to happen. You're just going to read another book or go to another seminar and go, this didn't work either.
Yeah.
So that's really the thing that I think she's discovered, created, that's so unique about what she does.
And the other program that we're offering right now that's so important for the people to know, Kimberly, would be Mastery of Conscious Self. Because it trains people who are looking for something much deeper, rather rapidly. Mastery of Conscious Self is the power of creating force that will change how you live your life forever. And we're going to be doing it in Manassas, Virginia. It'll be Tom and me, and one of the people that has studied with us extensively, Dr. Lisa Stewart. And we'll be doing it in Manassas, as I said, and it'll be September 30th to October the 5th. So it's a 6-day intensive, especially for healers and teachers, but for people who are really looking for, I want to expand my life, I want to do it at a fairly rapid pace, I want to get deep with my life, and this is an incredibly powerful vehicle for that.
It'll truly put permanency in your change. You will not get out of that class going, I don't know, I didn't seem that. You'll get it. I mean, that's how it's structured.
Yeah.
But again, you got to bring yourself to it.
And I forgot to mention earlier, the next dates for the Power of Women seminar are November the 8th, 9th, and 10th, which is a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And it will be here in the Atlanta area.
Okay.
Some of the other things we do is, again, we talked about the healing work.
Yeah.
We didn't talk too much about my channeling. Let's see, what else? The men's course.
Yeah.
Rite of passage.
Yeah.
We also do a short course, a series of subjects that we call
The Conscious
Living series.
And it's on various topics.
Various topics. One night, a couple hours, we talk about various things. What else?
And you do the Science of Spirituality.
Science of Spirituality, yes. That's a really interesting course because I talk about quantum physics and how the quantum physics grows to be our experience and the spiritual experience we have. People constantly talking about, well, science and religion and spirituality, and science is this and spirituality is that, and very few people, I think, have the understanding of how those come together. So that's what that workshop talks about.
Very powerful.
Really interesting. I've actually taught that to not only some very religious people, but also some physicists.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting conversation now.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. So if someone wanted to participate in your courses, how would they register or get a hold of you?
The best way would be to, they can go to Facebook. For me, Power of Woman, it's singular, WOMAN, seminars with Shelley Negelow. And Shelley's with an EY, and Negelow is NEGELOW. So they can go there. They can go to ShelleyNegelow.com. They can go to mastery-cs.com, Mastery of Conscious Self. And also, email me. It'll also get to Tom, ShelleyNegelow@gmail.com.
And if they want to get a hold of me, it's tomnegelow@gmail.com. I don't have any websites or anything like that.
It's always been word of mouth for us.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Just concentrate on the people.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on my show.
Absolutely a
Thank
pleasure.
you
For all you've given. I don't even have words for it. Just thank you for all you've given.
Sure.
It's our pleasure.
It
really is. And you are a joy. Thank you for being such a great person to bring this to people.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks.